Good morning, and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Chico. I'm the Reverend Connie Asquith. On a regular basis, Reverend Kathy will ask me if I'd like to speak on a Sunday. And on a regular basis, I answer with, I'll talk when I have something to say. Well, I'm here this morning because I do have something to say. This last year, I've had quite a number of miracles happen in my life. And while I love having that happen because it's joyful, it's wonderful, it affirms what I believe, it lets me know that there is a power for good in the universe and that it brings forth these wonderful, wonderful experiences. But then in the last month, I got a deeper insight into these miracles, and that's what I wanted to share with you this morning. And so I want to begin with telling you a story. And some of you may have heard my story, but bear with me because there's more to the story. I'm also a real estate broker, and I was selling my neighbor's home. She'd been there for 20 years, but it was time for her to move to a smaller, more manageable place. And so we had received the perfect buyer, and we were going through our escrow with ease, all the inspections passing, just checking off everything on our list. And the buyer was a part of a 26-member family that was buying 3 or 4 homes up in Northern California because they were going to relocate from the Bay Area to restart their businesses and their lives up here. And so this was one leg of that journey for them. And so I was happy that we were moving pretty much in tandem with the other sales and all was going well. We were at the very end when the last thing the title officer does is make sure that the title is clear before it's transferred. And when she did that, there was an error. And the property is a custom triple wide manufactured home, and it was transferred quite a while ago, but apparently there was an error made which was not detected until right now. The escrow officer told us it would be a 3 or 4 week delay. Well, that was going to cause a lot of hardship. So I decided that I would call HCD, which is Housing and Community Development, to see if I could make the 4-hour round trip to Sacramento, bring the papers that needed to be corrected, and have them do it over the counter so that we could take care of it effortlessly. And so to do that, I dialed the 800 number because I wanted to make sure that they were open. So I dialed the 800 number and I sat, but it wasn't just that I sat on a very long 800 number line, but there was so much static on the line. It was just amazing. It was really hard to hear anything, but occasionally I could hear a voice say, be sure you have your insignia number ready when your call is answered. Well, that was my problem. I did not have an insignia number. But I held on the line, and it was about 20 minutes when finally the call was answered. And the person on the other end said, insignia number, please. And I said, well, that's our problem. I don't have one. And she said, if you don't have an insignia number, I can't help you. And click, the line went dead. Well, I thought I've got to come up with another plan. So I decided that I would borrow someone else's insignia number and I would use that. At least it would give me some time to engage them in a phone conversation and maybe I could get my needs met. So I once again dialed the 800 number and static was right back there again. It was just a horrible connection. And I waited and I waited, and it was almost another 20 minutes. And as soon as they answered, the line went dead. Well, my rather cheerful attitude took a turn at that point, and I decided that it was just I just was not happy that I wanted my way and I was going to get my way. And so I dialed that 800 number again and again. There was static, but I was determined that I was going to tell them what I needed, and they were going to help me. And as I was waiting in my line in the queue, it became apparent to me that I I did not have a very good attitude. And suddenly Abraham Hicks started floating into my mind, going, you know that by the law of attraction, you are going to get what you're putting out. And what you're putting out is a lot of anger and frustration and demand. And then I remembered a quote from Ernest Holmes, which went something like, everything in your life is the result of choices you have made. And if you want something different, you need to make a different choice. And so in that moment, I caught myself and I hung up the phone. And I sat there quietly for a minute. And I thought, you know what? I need to regroup here. I need to go into treatment. So I did. And I became quite calm. And I found my heart opening up. And I found that what I really wanted was just someone to help me. It wasn't that I needed to get my way. I just needed someone to help me. And so after I did my treatment and I had calmed myself down, I dialed the 800 number again. And this time it only rang for about a few rings, and it was picked up not by a recorded voice. It was picked up by a lady named Kristen. And when she answered the phone, she said, "How may I help you?" And I thought, oh my goodness, thank you so much. I do need help. I have a problem and I'm trying to find a solution so that I can help all these people get what they need. And she said, well, tell me what's going on. And I told her the story. And she said, you know, this is really interesting because I don't normally answer the phone. I work in the back office, but I was sitting here and I just thought that I would pick up this call. And so she said, let me see what I can do. And her fingers started madly typing on her keyboard, but I could hear her bird in the background. It was singing. And so I just mentioned, are you working from home? And she said, yes, she was working from home. Anyway, after just a few moments, she said, I can see what the problem is. I see what the title company is seeing. So if you can send me this one form that you have, I will go ahead and take care of this problem for you. And she gave me her email address and I sent the form, and within 10 minutes, there was an email on my screen that said, by some miracle, Connie was able to find someone at HCD to assist, and this problem is now fixed. Well, it wasn't that I fixed it. It was the call. It was the opening of the heart. It was coming from this wonderful place of just wanting to be helpful. Well, all this was wonderful, and I was really grateful for this opportunity to help serve these people because they had a lot going on with all these families trying to move up here. And it probably would have just been able to stay at that level. But then a couple weeks ago, I heard something in a podcast and it caught my attention. And I went back and I replayed it again. And this is what it said. It said, everything in your life. No, that's not it. It said, when you use love to drive an action, you're using the quantum power of the universe. When you use love to drive an action, you're using the quantum power of the universe. Love can accomplish what force and power cannot. And in my life, and especially in my job, I've learned many different ways of getting my way, whether it's, being creative, clever, outwitting, leveraging, maybe a little threatening, maybe some manipulation. But even when you get your way, when that happens, It doesn't feel like it feels when you open your heart, you ask for help, and then this power in the universe moves through you. And it reminded me when I was at SOAR conference, Elijah, he twisted a statement from Ernest Holmes. And Ernest Holmes says, there's a power for good in the universe and you can use it. And what Elijah said was, there's a power for good in the universe and it can use you. And I realized that that's what makes a miracle happen. When you let that power move through you and you allow it to happen, you are calling on the quantum power of the universe by calling on love. And so that really resonated with me. And then when I was happy with that, I got even a deeper level of understanding. And my mind went back to a lesson that Reverend Kathy had given years ago when we were back at Cal Park. And she did a lesson that was entitled, How Do You Behave When You Don't Get Your Way? And it impacted me to the point that that title is still on my refrigerator to this day, because occasionally I check in to see how I'm doing when I don't get my way. And generally I do not behave very well, but over the years I've done better. Well, with this whole situation, all of a sudden I got another deeper understanding of it. And this is what I got. If you get what you want, that's a wonderful thing and you're very happy with it. But when you don't get what you want, it's telling you there's something else that needs to happen here. And maybe it's that you need to go deeper. Maybe you need to expand a little wider. Maybe there's a greater outcome that's supposed to happen and your perspective is just too narrow. It's too small. You're focused on just this one little piece. But you know, in the words of Mick Jagger, and it says, I wrote this down to get it right, you can't always get what you want. But if you try sometimes, well, you just might find you get what you need. And so how do I behave when I don't get my way? Well, guess what? I always get my way, because whether it's showing up very easily as what I wanted, or maybe not what I wanted, it was what I needed. And so that was a big revelation to me. And you know, it's easy to talk about it when everything goes well. But when things are hard and you're not doing so well with it, it really feels like you're, as Scott Wyman says, that you're trying to get through a mountain with just a little tiny spoon and you're chipping away at it, one spoonful at a time. But what he says is, while you're doing that, on the other side, there is a bulldozer. Source is bringing the bulldozers out to try to get to you, to bring you back home, to bring you back to this open-hearted, open-minded sense of joy and oneness with what truly is. And I asked that we play the song that the choir sang, because after I went through all this thinking and exploring on this, what was going on with me, I realized that the song that we sang back before the end of the year was really the answer. And the song says, you've got to keep your heart wide open, and although the waves want to push you around, you've got to keep your heart wide open until your faith brings you back to solid ground. And so for me, that is the sweet secret of manifesting, is to open your heart, ask for what you want, accept what you get, and then just wait until your faith brings you back to solid ground. And that was what my experience was, and that's what I wanted to share with you today. So I hope that that brings some understanding. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and namaste. Hello again. I wasn't sure how long my talk would run. I'm new at this, and so it wasn't that long. So I have a little addendum, which I was thinking I would share with you, but I didn't know if it would make the lesson too long. But I think it's nice in and of itself. So I wanted to share this as a little corollary to what I just said. So after Kristen did this lovely miracle and fixing our problem so that we could close the escrow, I was really touched by her act of kindness, and I sent her an email since I had her email address. And so I'd like to read it to you. Dear Kristen, perhaps you are not aware of how many lives you touched last week when you so graciously offered to help me with an HCD issue. We were set to close the sale of a home when a problem with title was discovered by the lender. The escrow officer emailed everyone that this would create a 3 to 4 week delay in our closing. I decided to call HCD to see if they were open to the public and if perhaps I could make the trip down and have this problem resolved over the counter. After 3 failed attempts at reaching someone on the 800 number, I paused for a moment, said a simple prayer asking for help, and then I dialed the 800 number one more time. And you answered, complete with a singing bird in the background. You asked how you could help. You listened. You found the error, and you were willing to go the extra mile to help fix it. And indeed, within moments, our 3 to 4 week major delay was miraculously gone. The escrow officer emailed, we had clear title, in total amazement. You see, the seller's having brain surgery this week and was wanting to have her home sold before that happened. The buyers are part of a 26-member family, all relocating from the Bay Area to 3 homes in the Red Bluff, Redding area. They were packing and loading up vans. New owners were ready to move into their soon-to-be vacant homes. Children were registered in new schools. All the work setting up new homes was all set in place. And then a 3 to 4 week delay. So many people, from the movers scheduled to drive their moving trucks to the cleaners in place to prepare homes, all would have been affected. And you alone undid all that. Your act of kindness and your willingness to step outside the lines for just a minute and help us made such a huge impact on all of us. You may be at home reading this with your lovely bird singing, not even aware of how many lives you touched. I wanted to make sure you knew. On behalf of all of us, thank you. Thank you for being such a kind person and for making such a difference for so many. I hope we all carry it forward and spread your goodness out to others. And may you be richly blessed. In gratitude, Connie. The next morning, I got an email back from Kristen, and this is what she said. Dear Connie, thank you so much for taking the time to send me the sweetest email I have ever received. I read every word of it. I am so very happy I could help so many people with one small gesture. You have paid it forward with your words and the time you took to write that beautiful letter. You reminded me that my interactions with the public can have a very personal effect in someone's daily life. Sometimes one needs to hear that in order to do their job better. Oh, and that singing bird belongs to my daughter who moved away a year ago. I tell her every week she needs to come and get her squawking bird. I'm now going to try to appreciate his singing when I'm on the phone. My daughter thanks you, and I do too. Thank you again for the thoughtful email. What a gift. Take care, Kristen. Simple acts of love and kindness when you open your heart and let that love move in quantum ways. So it is. Thank you.